Sandy from Ecuador, I can see. Thank you for your letter. And Becky, I believe you also had something to do with the letter. Thank you very much for that. It was really good to recognize who sent the letter, because of course I met you both in Brazil. So it's nice to see you again. So some of the questions in their letter and in others that we got can be summed up in one question in particular, and that is, Vinay, how can the impact of the IAF be greater in Latin America and the Caribbean, particularly when there are, like Becky and Sandy are previous FIA awardees, and it's not known enough, it's not publicized enough. So how can we help?
Thank you for that question. And that's a very important question for us as an association and as a community, because our catch line of the IAF tagline is promoting the power of facilitation. This is an area which all of us can do better, and particularly us as an association. So one example we're doing in the last 6 months, or 3 months actually, you have seen it, is the hashtag facilitation has impact, where we have leaders from around the world, from different languages, doing quick 60-second videos, and we are reposting those on social media. So as that gets out, we are hopefully increasing the impact and the word. The second thing we're trying to do is create partnerships with other organizations. We have a partnership with the International Institute for Business Analysis, IIBA. We are talking to many other organizations. So through those partnerships, they find out about facilitation, FIA. And the third one that we're doing is more speaking at events. So Malin, who's on the session, myself and Miriami from Europe recently spoke at the International Bar Association, I think, which is the global organization for lawyers. So we talked a little bit about facilitation, etc. So this way, when more people and more organizations find out about it, we are able to spread the word. Now, I have one ask for everybody, though. We cannot do it on our own as the board. We need all of you to retweet, put messages on LinkedIn, send out, make those messages go viral, write articles in Spanish, in Portuguese. The Africa region is doing a great job because it's French as well as many other languages in Africa, and they've started doing more and more exposure. So I would say we will do it from the top through the board and some initiatives, but we really need everybody else, all our members, to spread the word as well. And for those of you who are FIA winners, thank you. Give your clients exposure. Invite them, ask them to do a FIA facilitation has impact video. Jeffer, our marketing board member, is very interested in having more and more people contributing to those videos. And I'll stop. I've spoken for too long.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. Can the CPF, the Certified Professional Facilitation certification that we do, actually in different parts of it, but CPF in particular, can it be offered in other languages?
This is, I would have been very surprised if I didn't get this question. Right? This is one of the biggest needs and challenges for us in professional development. We would love to do this in other languages. The challenges we need to overcome are we need enough CPFs first who speak that language, right? So if we want to do it in Portuguese or Spanish, we need lots of CPFs who are already CPFs who speak Portuguese and Spanish. And we need some of them to become assessors. And the third challenge with that is if we have if you have a few assessors, when candidates apply, we need to make sure that there is no conflict of interest between the candidate and the assessor, right? So you don't want to be assessing your friend or your partner in the business. So from the neutrality perspective. And that is where the challenge is. And then we need enough candidates to be applying for that language. So right now we have a challenge of candidates who want to be assessed in Portuguese, Spanish, German, Japanese, Chinese, etc. But we struggle to have enough assessors who can assess in that language. So the only group we have managed to do this is Mandarin in China. And we have CPFs in China, but we also have Chinese speaking CPFs in North America, in Europe, and other parts of the world. So sometimes we use assessors from other parts of the world to be able to come and assess those events. So I know Gerardo, our professional development portfolio, is very keen on the language, but the reality is, if we look at our assessor community, we don't have that pool of language speaking assessors. There is one way we can do the language. It's called simultaneous translation. Alexander and Hector are being simultaneous translators. I was in an IAF conference in Japan many years ago, where the assessment was done in simultaneous translation. We had participants speaking in Japanese and the assessors listening in English, etc. It adds a huge cost to it, the cost of translation, simultaneous, the technology, etc. But there's a real need, we could do that as well. So those are just a couple of things. So in principle, we would love to do this, but it's a long process to get to a language, if that makes sense.
Thanks for that, Vinay. Moving on to the next question. And it's actually related to that one. Is it possible to reduce the cost of the certification to reflect earnings in this region?
So the cost of, so let me give it this way. The CPF is not, as an assessment, the professional development portfolio does not really generate any surplus. It is pretty much, it breaks even. And what little surplus is made sometimes goes into what's called a bursary or a scholarship fund to help candidates from low-income areas or who have a need to be able to support that. So while we would love to reduce that cost, the challenge is the cost of traveling, the assessors, the physical venues, etc., has pushed that cost up. Assessors barely get paid except for the travel expenses and something. And I think we have a few assessors on this call, they know. It's really volunteer time and amazing professional development support they give. Now, here's the possible good news. You should have seen a survey that has come to you. We are looking at a CPF online assessment because we're in a new world right now. And with this new world, with the travel costs, etc., we are re-looking at the cost of the CPF itself, and being virtual with no physical venue, no travel expenses, we are anticipating that cost to come down anyway. But we're still in the research stage right now. But that's the good news. I mean, we must find some positives in the pandemic. Maybe one is CPF becoming more accessible and more cost accessible as well.
Okay, thank you. Again, related to language for this region.
So, sorry, Jill.
I'm sorry, I thought you had completed. I'm sorry.
No. I saw a hand up going from Virginia, from Argentina.
Aha, well
is
spotted.
it a question? Yeah.
Sorry, I was applauding.
Oh, okay, no problem. Gracias.
Okay. Is it possible, again, related to language, to make more effort, for the IAF to make more effort generally, like the website, some of our promotional material? It seems that everything is in English, and obviously there are a few things that have been translated, but unless you can speak English, you don't get the full benefit of what's available.
Right. So yes, I mean, we've got two people on this call who've been very strong advocates, actually three, myself, Hector, and Jillian. We've had multiple conversations on the board, Trevor also. We're all strong advocates of creating material in language, in different languages. Now, the question that comes is, should it come from the board, from the center of the association, or can it come from the chapters and the groups itself? There's absolutely nothing to stop any of you taking the IAF competency document is already translated into many languages. But if you want to create the Argentina, Uruguay chapter, the Ecuador, Brazil, if you want to create a flyer in your local language, we have no problems. There's some branding guidelines, logos you can use. We can do that. I can tell you that in Japan, Korea, as the former regional director for Asia, I use a lot of Asia examples. So sorry for that. China, Malaysia, and even a couple of the countries in Europe, Celeste was sharing, have done their own flyers and their own materials in local languages. So you have a great community of people who do this, because if we start translating at the central level, let me give you the reality. We have to use a professional translation agency, or we come to the members in the local market and help us translate. But then you could do it yourself and then share it with us, and we can look at how we can put that up and get it out there in different languages. So while we are going to slowly over a period of time do a little bit more of translations, we would love for each group to do those at the local level. One quick thing, your facilitation as impact videos do not need to be in English. Okay, so when we do post them, if you've watched some of them already, they have the English subtitles that's there, but they could be in any language. So we'd encourage you to get those videos going as well.
Hector is saying to stop.
Yes, give time to translate. Okay, thank you, Hector. And I was going to say, this also explains how simultaneous translation assessments could look like, right? Stop your demo. we need to translate.
You know, I should have said in relation to the translation that this is actually the first time that we're doing this. And it was remiss of me. I should have specifically thanked Hector. Although many of us have a Zoom account, including obviously global, what we don't have is a type of account that needs interpretation. I spoke to Hector about it, and his normal, wonderful, generous self said, my company has an account, we can use it, and so feel free. We are using Hector's account. And what Vinay doesn't know, I have actually spoken to a few board members. So we're going to kind of approach you, Vinay, because one of the things that I would like us to consider is to having obviously a global account so that we can then let you have access to it. We're still actually doing the research to find out what that cost would be. But I should have said that in the beginning. This is the very first time that we're doing this. I only found out, and in fact, I think she's on the call. It was Hope from Jamaica that told me about a month ago that Zoom now has this capability. So once she told me about it, I then asked a few other people, found out about it, and like I say, we are doing this for the first time. So it would be really useful, as when we wrap up at the end, for you to give your impression, your experience, and what this has been like for you. Because like I say, we want to use it more and more.
Right. This will be fun for Hector to translate a thank you to himself.
So we're going to go into language huddles in a moment, but before we do, I was just asking Vinay some of the questions that came in advance to me. But as we're here together, are there any questions that come to mind for any of you? Eduardo from Argentina, can you unmute yourself, please?
Sí, buenas noches para todos, buenas tardes a los que les toque la tarde. Dos cosas quería, una pregunta y una propuesta. La propuesta primero. La propuesta es...
I think we may pause the translation and just do...
Beatrice, can you translate into English? Just select the interpretation and just click on English. And the guys who are listening to English, just make sure that you're listening to English. Is that okay? Okay.
¿Pregunto?
Okay. Adelante.
Eduardo,
Yes,
yes.
from
Beatriz.
Eduardo.
Sí. Tenía una pregunta y una propuesta. Empiezo por la propuesta. Cuando ingresé a la asociación el año pasado, lo primero que se me ocurrió hacer, porque no había gente con la que conozco ahora de Sudamérica, fue contribuir con alguna traducción de textos al castellano. Fue así que me contacté con una compañera de Dinamarca, a quien le traduje 2 textos para la revista periódica de la Internacional. Beatriz, ¿voy lento? ¿Voy rápido? Sí, te escucho.
We can hear you, Beatrice.
Hey, Beatrice.
Voy más lento entonces. Voy más lento. Sí. El año pasado, cuando ingresé a la Internacional, me afilié a la Internacional, bueno, no sabía de qué manera poder contribuir con la Internacional. Fue así que de esta manera, como tampoco nos conocíamos en Sudamérica muchos, pensé que una manera era contactarme con alguien y traducir textos al castellano de textos que había en la revista periódica de la internacional. Fue así que me contacté con una compañera de Dinamarca y traduje 2 artículos de ella al castellano de la publicación en línea de la internacional. Entonces, mi pregunta ¿es posible crear un equipo de voluntarios que podamos hacer traducciones de textos de inglés al castellano para ampliar el marco idiomático sobre textos y artículos de opinión que se publiquen en la página?
Yeah.
I think Beatrice, we can't hear you. What I think the question is, well, there was a question and a proposal, a request, and the request is that we have some text that we can send to companies that talks about what the IAF is all about, what facilitation is, to introduce this. I think that's what was said. My Spanish is terrible, but I think that's what was said.
Sorry. I think the proposal was, can we create some volunteer group to translate what exists?
Okay, I was close.
Okay, so a volunteer group. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep. So me, Julian. Okay. So the answer is yes and yes. Yes, we are working on some text for a pack that can go to companies or organizations to understand facilitation. The thing is, we have information from so many places, like for sponsorship, to send information to FIA, etc. We are trying to bring it together to make one standard pack. So we'll hope to get it together soon. And the second is to create a volunteer group of translators. Absolutely. We are highly democratized, type of organization. So every chapter, I would encourage chapters in South America, Latin America to get together and create a team of volunteers for translating material, which you can use in multi-countries. That's the advantage. We have special interest groups for Portuguese and Spanish. If any of you are familiar with them, this is a great opportunity to get those SIGs, as we call them, together, and could be a SIG project as well. But yes, absolutely. Thank you, Eduardo. Gracias.
Thank you. Other questions, perhaps, that have just come to mind since we started this conversation?
Yo tengo otra. Cuando ingresé otra vez, me tocó un momento de elecciones.
Beatrice?
A la internacional, a IAF. Cuando me asocié a la IAF el año pasado, me sorprendió, o lo tuve, la poca participación en algunas regiones en las elecciones.
Beatrice, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Beatrice. I don't know.
Okay, there you
¿Es
go.
posible, de qué manera se puede ampliar, aumentar la participación de las personas en la toma de decisiones?
I can translate if you want. So the thing is that when he joined the association, it was time of elections, and he was shocked because of the low level of participation of some countries. So he's asking if there's any way to increase that participation.
So great. Thank you, Virginia, for translating, and Eduardo for the question. This is, Trevor and I have talked about this many times. We have three challenges, actually. One is we need more candidates to stand for positions that we have on the board. We want more representation. The second is we need more people to participate in elections. And the third, we need more members to join things where we share information about the health of the organization, like the annual general meeting. All three in the past have been very low. This was something that I was very worried about. And I'm now 50% worried about it, because someone told me that if people are not participating in elections or standing for the board, there could be one reason they're not interested, or the second reason is they trust the people who are there and they automatically want them there. I actually think we need to get more people to be active. I am trying to make sure that for every position that comes up each year, we have at least 2 or 3 candidates standing for those positions. Competition is good. It has bothered me, and I will be very honest as chair, to see some positions where only one person is standing for that position, which means, who are you going to vote for? That person and no one else, or other. So as we get more chapters, as we have more activities, as we see more engagement, we hope to bring more of you. We hope to bring more of you into the association to take on roles. I also want to acknowledge that you don't need to be on the board to contribute. You can contribute in your local chapters. You can contribute as volunteers in global initiatives. Like the International Facilitation Week that is coming up.
Alexander,
So,
okay, he's okay.
Yeah, so Eduardo, I hope you vote in the coming elections. And all of you.
Go ahead, BBB.
A question.
Oh, the same. While we're waiting for the unmuting to happen, I just want to have a big appreciation for Marvi.
Yes.
Virginia, who's been immense in the Uruguay and Argentinian group in helping with translation between Spanish and English. She's wonderful.
And it's Marvi.
It's Marvi. It's Marvi.
Maria, Virginia.
Yeah.
Yes, Marvi.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Marvin. Thank you. Gracias, gracias. Obrigado.
Sure. I think Alejandro wanted to ask a question. He's put it on chat.
Yeah, I have a question. Good morning and good evening, everyone. Mina, it's really nice of you and everyone here to be with us. Really appreciate it. So thank you for making this time and space to meet with us. Really appreciate it. I kind of think of myself as a lifelong learner, if you will. So I really look forward to learning more from my colleagues and you guys. I have just one question. Given how things have changed this year, I think all of our businesses and experiences have been shifted and changed, and we are already.
Alejandro,
I'll just stop.
Yeah.
Alexandre is asking if you could slow down a little.
To translate.
I can. I can.
Okay.
He needs time to catch up.
Of course, I was just saying that, right? So
yeah,
I got it.
That is stop.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Shut up. Yeah.
That's universal.
Yeah. Shut up. Okay. So given the context, if you will, right? So the pandemic, everything's changed, and a few things are rising up, like the need for more professional facilitation. But offering this when we can go live and instead need to adapt to virtual, that's a game changer for us too.
Yep.
So I was wondering if you could share your thoughts with us around that.
So thank you, Alejandro. And Denada on time. This is part of my learning from all of you as well. So absolutely agree, everything has changed. So let me give you a quick thing. I personally believe that this pandemic and the after the pandemic will increase the opportunities for facilitation. More people want to have their voices heard, and everything, right? Whether it's the racial, economic, all of that, there are more conversations happening than ever before. Organizations are having internal conversations. So I think there is an opportunity to increase the reach of facilitation. We are trying really hard as an association to help our members through two aspects: the skill of trying to do virtual facilitation and virtual engagement. You have seen people like Trevor, Martin in the UK, and many others run sessions to help people learn virtual or increase their virtual facilitation skills. We have a great resource page on our website on this, which does have Spanish resources, and more needs to go on. And the second impact we have had is, of course, financial. So we have we have the grace period on membership fees. We are already having a conversation in the board on how to support our members as this goes longer and longer, unfortunately. But personally, my view is the role of facilitation is only going to increase. And it's a great opportunity for us to go to our communities and clients. And I'll give you a personal, in my business, I've asked my clients, do you need to have any reflection conversations on how leaders and a reflection conversation on how leaders and employees are handling themselves and the community through this? And a lot of them say, yes, we need to pause and reflect. So that's an opportunity for us to facilitate as well. I've done 3 such sessions in the last week alone.
So I'm just going to ask Shelley, who's asked a couple of questions in the chat, because we're going to take one more and then we're going to go into the language huddles, if that's okay. So Shelley, I don't want to read your question. I'd like for everyone to hear your voice. So please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, thanks, Jill. As maybe the youngest person online tonight.
That's a huge assumption.
Of course, too, I've been trying to raise the awareness of my friends and colleagues around my age to the IAF. But I made the observation, and we brought it up in one of our meetings, that I guess, I don't know if you've already crunched the numbers, but the majority of the facilitators are members of IAF are probably over 40s. So does IAF Global, have you considered a youth engagement strategy? For instance, I work in fisheries and we have a very aging population. So in our policies and protocols, we're specifically looking to engage youth for of course, leadership succession planning. So I would like to find out if this is something you have considered in the past. And then I had another observation around some of the graphics and so on that have been used in the IAF branding.
Shelley, can you slow down a little?
Sure, no problem. Yes.
Okay.
So yes, as it relates to the graphics and branding, my observation is that it's not altogether representative of the diversity of the IAF membership. So this is something too that I will bring up in meetings of the brand ambassadors, which I'm a part of now. But it is something I think that we should really consider.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Shelley. I'll address the first one, the youth engagement. So we have a we are very conscious and aware that we need to do better on this. We have created a youth engagement group, some of our younger members to drive this, because it doesn't make sense for, as you say, the older population to be driving the youth engagement. Our board member, Rachel, who also happens to be the youngest member on the board, is leading this initiative. Would be great to have you part of that group. She is looking for volunteers. One idea I had brought to the board before the pandemic to a few people was about creating an internship program, bringing in younger facilitators who are learning OD or in universities to be part of learning about the IAF and supporting it. Now, that stopped a little bit with the pandemic, but we need to kickstart it again. And that's one way that was a activity to start the engagement. But there is a group looking at a larger youth engagement strategy. And would love to have you part of that, Shelley. On the second question about the branding and the imaging and the graphics representing more the diversity of the association, that is an ongoing activity. And if you are with the brand ambassadors group, Jeffer, our marketing director, is absolutely the right person to share your feedback to. And I will also made a note to give him a heads up, but we are changing it. I hope some of you noticed that we just did a website upgrade. I forget how many years it took to make that happen. Yeah, Trevor saying two. I don't know whether he's saying that symbol could mean many things in many cultures, Trevor. But he was part of that. It took us 2 years to make that change. But yes, it's a continuous improvement process. So your feedback to Jeffer would be very welcome on what we can do differently. Thank you, Shelley.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Vinay. I'm definitely interested, so I'll follow up on that.
Yep, perfect.
So I'd like to take this opportunity to ask Hector to set up the breakout rooms.
I've ended the translation. He terminado la traducción para poder dar las instrucciones finales. Alexandre? So we can go into the huddles, right? Para poder.
Yes.
Vamos a usar una función. We're going to use a function of Zoom that I don't know if all of you have used it. Vamos a usar una función de Zoom.
De Zoom.
Para que todos puedan moverse al grupo que les corresponde.
Para que todos possam mover ao grupo que se corresponde.
We're using the co-host function so you can move freely between the rooms. I'm not going to move you into a room. Yo no los voy a mover a un grupo. Ustedes van a moverse a un grupo.
Ele não vai mover. Vocês vão se mover livremente, andar livremente entre as salas.
In the breakout rooms icon will appear underneath you, and you will choose to which language room you want to go. Los voy a mover a una sala que se los voy a mover a una sala que se llama lobby, y de ahí ustedes van a seleccionar posteriormente.
Vão para o lobby e depois seleciona a sala que te interessa.
En el botón de breakout room que va a aparecer abajo.
No botão breakout room que vai aparecer abaixo.
I'm going to move you all to the lobby room, and then you're going to select from the breakout room button where you want to go. Okay, this is a function that I use in Zoom when you're using open space. You can use this technique to use it for open space. Does everybody know what you're going to do?
I just wanted to say I was going to ask people to just have a conversation for about 10 minutes around the question, what's one thing?
Sobre a pergunta.
So vamos a estar hablando durante 10 minutos sobre. Go ahead.
What's one thing you would like the leadership of the IAF to know?
¿Qué es una cosa que ustedes quieren que el liderazgo de la asociación conozca, que se lleven, para que viene y se lo lleve?
Uma coisa que vocês queiram que a liderança da associação conheça.
Okay.
Okay.
Si estamos listos, if we're ready. Want to see you. ¿Todos bien? ¿Todos listos? Okay. 10 minutos, 10 minutes, and we come back.
Okay, Jillian, the floor is yours.
Okay, so welcome back, everybody. Can we just have very, very brief, just give us an idea briefly of what you discussed, and let's go with English first. Can you share what we discussed? Anybody from the English group?
I can, if that's okay.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Alejandro.
Yeah. So Trevor opened up with a favorite topic of everyone, the CPF in another language, and the interest of getting it out there. We also talked about engaging through social media just to get the word of what we do out there and promote our business and what the IAF stands for. And we discussed youth engagement, which is something that we need to look at, and is actually being looked at by a special group at the IAF. That's kind of the stuff we discussed.
Thank you. And the very last thing Hope said just before we came back to the main room was about tips for social media.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great. Thanks very much for that. I've made notes of them. Can I ask somebody from the Portuguese group to share, please?
I think they've already put it on chat, if I see.
Ah, okay. How does the IAF see facilitation in the Portuguese language? Bring Brazil, Portugal, and other Portuguese-speaking countries closer together? Can I just respond directly to that? I will say, and I believe that there are 2 or 3 members of the Brazil chapter here, that's actually how the chapter was started. There was a special interest group for Portuguese speakers in 2018, came together, my equivalent in Europe. Her name is Celeste. She lives in Portugal, and her and some other persons in Brazil actually came together and started it, and hence we have the chapter. So that's really important. We can do initiatives like that. Is it possible to do the certification in Portuguese, remote, online? Made a note of that. It's come up already in this conversation. How many members are there in the IAF today, Vinay?
We are at 1,998, I think, almost 2,000. I think we just need 2 more, 3 more people to get that. I don't have the latest number on the number of CPFs, but I can maybe send that out, or Jillian can send out an email to LAC region with data.
Sure.
And
sure.
then I maybe, I'll take question 4. In Brazil, I realize that facilitation is not known. How is it in the rest of the world? Where is it strongest? Again, I think this is it's a lot of people, like many parts of the world, mix up training and facilitation, right? That's a very common challenge. And it's process facilitation is often known in economies and countries where there's a strong recognition of separating the two. There is also facilitated training, which is different. But I would probably, I won't put countries. I think it's changing quite a bit, but maybe some parts of Europe, North America, and a couple of countries in Asia, like Japan, Singapore, facilitation is very strong in community, in government, etc. And the 5th question is, absolutely, we are talking to Agile, the Project Management Institute, we're talking to design thinking. Facilitation is a methodology used in many of these activities and professions, and we are trying to include them in our community as well. And the last question is, we have something called the endorsed training program provider. That is, if you offer training in facilitation, you can get your program endorsed by the IAF. IAF in itself will not offer training, but we recognize companies or organizations or individuals who have built a program on certain standards, qualities, on the IAF competencies. That program is being redesigned and will be launched again, I think, this month or next month, actually, next month or two. But if you go to the website, there's a few organizations in the world that have already got their endorsement. But again, those were for the good old days of face-to-face certification, which is evolving as well. Thank you, Portuguese.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Can we go to somebody from the Spanish team, please?
Ana.
Bueno, nuestro grupo, una de las inquietudes tiene que ver con falta de visibilidad de la facilitación.
Hector, do we need to go into interpretation and press English? Will that work?
Okay, so the rest of us need to click English.
Yes, okay. Yes, so, yeah, can we?
Sí. Ajá. El grupo identificó la necesidad de dar a conocer la facilitación. Ese es uno de los puntos, de dar mayor visibilidad. ¿Sí? ¿Sigo? Entonces, comenzamos en una lluvia de ideas de qué pedirle a la IAF, que terminó dando la vuelta y pensando qué tenemos para ofrecer. Y como capítulo Argentina-Uruguay, decidimos decirles que se preparen, porque vamos a empezar a generar ideas.
Con los compañeros de Ecuador también.
Absolutely,
Sí,
can't
sí.
wait.
Claro, estaban las compañeros de Ecuador también. Así que América Latina viene.
Excellent.
I love the competition, and I just want to tell this group, in the last 1 month, we have
Vinay, we're not hearing you very clearly.
Oh. Can you hear me now? Hello? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I said in the last 2 months, we have 2 new chapters, Argentina, Uruguay, and Azerbaijan. So we kind of were joking. I was telling Beatrice, we need a Zambia or a Zimbabwe, and then we can have A to Z, right? Argentina to Z of chapters. But thank you so much. And Ecuador, I love your competitiveness. Come on, Ecuador.
Okay, I believe that's all 3 groups. So, and I've just realized we're dead on schedule. We've got a couple more minutes. So before I wrap up, Vinay, is there anything specific that you'd like to say that you haven't said already?
No, again, I love the energy of this group and the fact that many of you, and Ana just did that with the Spanish team, what can we do with the IAF and Alejandro's and everybody's ideas? So thank you so much. Remember, the IAF is a completely volunteer organization, and we don't exist without all of you supporting and being part of it. That's it from me.
I'm sorry, I lost you for a moment. Was it just me that lost everybody?
Yes, it was you.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I missed what you said, which is okay. Hector, go ahead.
Millie, she's waiting for the applause so she can bark.
Millie, okay, we need to all applaud loudly so Millie can bark.
Do I have mine? Oh, I don't have mine on.
So I wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody a very special thank you to Vinay. It is now what, 8:30 in the morning, is that right? 7:30 in the morning for you?
7:30. Yeah.
7:30. Thank you so much. It was really quite difficult working out the times because, of course, they are both extreme ends. So thank you for that. And I want to throw out a challenge, not just to kind of continue this type of conversation, but I want to throw out a challenge as your regional director. And I'm saying it in front of the chair on purpose. At the moment, this region is the smallest in number. But in terms of land mass, obviously, we don't have to stay small. I'm not necessarily saying that we need to have hundreds and hundreds of members, but the challenge that I'm throwing out to you is that we can have a larger footprint. Whatever that looks like, we as a region can decide. We have, right now, we have 91 members. And like I say, we are the smallest, but I would really like some of the things that we do. So an example of us having a larger footprint was the Brazil conference last year. That was the first in IAF history, and it was amazing. I think this region can do some amazing things. So I just want to say thank you for this evening. Thank you for being a member. Thank you, Vinay, in particular. And let's just go out there and make our presence felt.
Oh, I just want to say one
Please.
thing.
Yeah.
Latin America is the first region where I did this conversation. So you were the first.
Okay.
Latin America and the Caribbean, LAC.
Okay,
Remember
LAC. Okay, and the Caribbean.
Thank
so
you, thank you. Thank you. Hector,
Gracias.
in terms of housekeeping, the recording, do we have access to it, or do I send it? Can I send it, or should you and I speak about that afterwards?
The recording will be available later tonight. I'm going to ask Muji to upload it to whatever you want me to put it. Yeah.
Lo dijiste en inglés.
Wonderful.
Sí, lo que pasa es que ya cambié todas las, apagué el sistema de traducción.
Okay.
Porque si no, Jill no me escuchaba. La grabación de esta sesión se va a terminar el día de hoy y voy a pedirle a la oficina que la suba a donde Jill me diga para que esté luego disponible para todos.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Muy
obrigado.
Sí, vamos hasta mañana. Well, let's say see you tomorrow in nuestros idiomas. Hasta mañana.
Nos vemos. Hasta mañana.
Chao.
Adiós.
Gracias.
See you tomorrow.
Chao.
Hasta
Gracias.
mañana.
Take care.
Bye. Take care, guys.
Thank
Obrigado.
you. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Okay. Bonsoir.